Welcome to 30-Minute Mindfulness. So I definitely don't have this technology figured out yet. I couldn't log on through the link that I set yesterday, but that's okay. At least I'm live. Somehow I think it works better when it's on manual than when it's on automatic. Thanks for being here. So today I thought we'd talk about taking responsibility. The journey toward healing is this continuous process of seeing more and more of the responsibility that we have in creating the life that we dream of. This resounding question becomes, what's my part? What's my part? What's my part? We can only change ourselves. And when we do, we begin to interact with the world in a different way, in more effective ways. And it kind of seems that the world changes with us. But it's really just our perspective. So we hold the responsibility of our own psychological well-being, and if we don't come to terms with the dragons that live inside of us, in our shadow, in our psyche, then we're going to continue manifesting in different ways, yet similar ways, situations throughout our lives. And this is that rinse and repeat cycle, being caught, going around and around. So taking responsibility doesn't mean that we hold the blame or fault for everything. It's a process of seeing your part in the struggle and seeing the possibility of thinking differently to create a more favorable outcome. So there's this article, it's a short article, and I just wanted to read it. It was printed in the New Catholic World by David Rico, and he writes, "It's important to remember a distinction. The people or situation of our past may be accountable for some of our present distress, but they're not responsible for it. To be accountable means to have played a part. To be responsible means to have caused it, that is, to be the blame. The past is not causing, nor has it caused, our feelings. As adults, we work to recognize our pain and to work with it for change. To hold on to our pain is a choice against change and growth, and for such a choice, we are the ones responsible. The work of recovery can never truly proceed as long as anyone else is to blame, because we then have become passive victims, unable to help ourselves. Only able adults, though wounded, can do this healing work for themselves and on themselves." So what he's saying is that when we hold on to the pain, we're handcuffing ourselves to the past. We are stuck in this hamster wheel of our pain, going round and round. Again, that rinse and repeat. When we choose to hold on to the pain, we will not grow past it or through it. We just wallow in it. When we become that passive victim, as Riccardo describes, we push off our responsibility for well-being onto the person that we blame. If only they hadn't done this or that, I would be a real success. I would be awesome in this way or that way. Now, to the degree of our trauma is the degree that we're going to have to face challenge to overcome it. It's often going to be the hardest thing you'll ever do. But it is possible to overcome it. You can do this. Responsibility happens in the present moment. It's not considering what I could have done different. It's unraveling what I can do now to forward my well-being, to see that I am playing a part in perpetuating the pain from the past. Thinking from a victim point of view might look something like, I can't believe this is happening to me. My boss is so unfair. I always attract cruel men. I will never get better or feel a sense of relief. This is just the way I am. I'm just this way. For an adult in an abusive relationship, responsibility might look something like this. What's going on for me that I would allow this into my life? Responsibility for someone who hates their job might look something like this. What is it that I get out of this job? Am I staying safe by keeping this job? Am I protecting myself from stepping into the unknown by keeping this job? Responsibility for somebody living with depression might look something like this. Gosh, this depression is real. It's debilitating most of the time. I usually don't want to get up in the morning. I honestly wish I wasn't alive. Today I will do my best to do 3 things on my list, and that's going to be my good enough. My greatest commitment right now is seeing my mental health professional every week. That's my greatest thing. Oftentimes we hear the metaphor being equated to that dark night of the soul being the fires of life that transform us into the phoenix who rises from the ashes. When we hold on to the pain, we do not allow that growth. So in essence, we stay in the fire for years, maybe our whole life. And tragically, we never become that phoenix who rises out of the ashes. We stay stuck in the pain and in the yuck. When we take responsibility, we become the phoenix who rises out of the ashes. We become powerful and glorious. We see the pain and the heartache for what it is, and we also see the meaning we have derived from overcoming such a grave hardship. We see the beauty that has been incubated in the fire. At the point where we see a glimpse of that beauty, we let go of who we once were, and we step into who we are meant to become. So responsibility is another way of describing personal power. It's the more responsibility we take for our lives and well-being, the more we see how many choices are in front of us. We see how we can choose to become all that we dream of, in spite of these grave hardships. In fact, when we take responsibility, these grave hardships often become the thing that you would never wish on anybody else, but you would also never change about your own journey. You have become the phoenix rising, spreading her wings with power and dignity. You have moved through the pain, and on the other side, you find your power. You find grace. And that becomes a gift that you give to the world. As you become your best self, you come back to the world and you offer that gift of healing. And doors open where there were once walls. So with that, I invite you to close your eyes and find a posture that's comfortable, something that's upright but not rigid, something that evokes dignity, whatever that means to you. Rest your hands on your thighs or in your lap. And just take a couple deep breaths to bring you present, right here, right now. Allow yourself to be still. Let your breath be that refuge of the present moment. That steady place that you can always come back to. Just reside in that in and out, that steady flow. Is there a person or a situation where you're using blame to make sense of what's happening? It might be easier to blame the other person than to look at your part. That's often the case. That's fair. But with a curious mind, let's just look into that. Is it possible that you are using blame in some way to keep yourself from taking responsibility for some aspect of your life or your well-being? Is there a situation, or can you see any area where it's more important to vindicate whatever was happening than to take responsibility for your life right now, for who you're becoming, for where you want to be, for what you want to create in your life? Is there any sense of unfairness to the point where you're not freeing yourself to become the best version of who you are? Is there any sense of unfairness that's keeping you handcuffed to the past? What do I believe about this situation or this person? Is that true? Is it 100% true? Is this story defining me? Have I become this story? Have I limited any other expression of who I am because of this story? Do you want this story to have a hold on you in the ways that it does? When you imagine the best version of who you are, how does that version of you deal with this story? How does that version of you retell this story? Is it possible to consider your responsibility in creating that best version of you outcome? What's your part? What can you do to create that outcome? To show up as that best version of who you are and create more of what you want out of life? What's your part? And ask again, what's your part? Ask yourself, what's my part in this? Is it possible to see who you are without this story, and to see the possibility of the beauty and the grace and the power that arises as you walk through that dark night of the soul and become that phoenix rising out of the ashes? Is it possible to see how beautiful that version of you becomes? In these final few moments of our meditation, I invite you to wrap that blanket of loving awareness around your shoulders, or embody yourself with light, whatever image works for you, and just honor your courage to dive in to deeper wisdom and deeper understanding of who you are and pieces of your story. So rest in that loving awareness just for the last few minutes. And when you're ready, please open your eyes. Thanks for being here. As always, I love your comments and feedback. Please email me or leave them in the comments section below. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.